I don't know. Michael, did you listen to the last episode?
I am like an episode and a half into you guys' Let's Play
Okay. Of Space Marine?
of Space Marine
Okay.
because
That's
I've been
not
trying to wait so I could watch it instead of just listening.
Yeah, that's not the ones that ended up with problems. The Magic the Gathering one actually came before that and exposed some problems that were then repaired during the Space Marine. So
Gotcha.
Discord added an overlay system that negates the NVIDIA recording system. So you have to use OBS or turn off the, better practices, turn off the overlay from Discord,
Sure, yep.
which we didn't find out for a while. So that was kind of annoying. But yeah, other than you sounding like you're on a headset, it sounds fine to me. Relearning best practices is hard, but it's time to do the hard work on episode 445 of We Were Gamers. A live? Pre-recorded live episode? Pre-recorded live, but not pre-recorded?
Live but not canned.
There he is. There's Michael. Hey, buddy.
Hey.
From the Soup Can headphones.
Yeah.
We didn't get too many complaints about my audio on the Space Marine episodes, so...
No, I don't think so. I can work it a little bit afterwards, and it sounds a little better. But yeah, it'll be fine. We got to do what we got to do to survive in these trying times. It's not really that. It is trying. Maybe, I don't know. You're on headphones, buddy. That's all we need to say. That's all we need to say. We're back together after a few weeks of duo episodes and some pre-recorded Magic the Gathering episodes to fill the gap. It's been a little bit of vacation, a little bit of workcation, and a little bit of everything. So let's get back into it. What do you say?
It's good to be back.
Yeah. And speaking of back, I've been out of the state, gentlemen.
Oh?
Yes. How many national parks in your lifetime do you think you've been to? Give me a ballpark, and it doesn't have to take a minute. I want to play I think it's illegal for me to play the music that I want to play.
Probably.
I think 4, depending on how some of the state beaches count.
Most of them do not count as national parks. I don't think there's... And there's some national parks that are beaches on the East Coast, but I don't know if there's any on the West Coast. I would have to look that up.
Probably 4.
There's some in Alaska, for sure, that are on the beach. Definitely some in
those.
Coast. 4, okay.
Yeah, I feel like my number's probably 4, half a dozen, somewhere in there.
In the last 13-ish days, I've done 10.
Ooh.
Good Lord, sir.
Marathon.
Some of them are national monuments, but really that's just a designation of size and not much else. You know what I mean?
I don't know what you mean.
Okay, so like a national monument would be like
3 acres versus 300 acres.
Yeah, 3 acres that contain original Pueblo houses, or like the Washington Monument is a national monument. You know what I mean?
Sure. Okay. Yeah. It's just like this small little area right here,
versus
as opposed to this whole land.
Yeah, I think one of the smallest national parks is like 174,000 acres.
Mm-hmm.
Which would be Zion, which we actually went to. We did a trip through Utah into Colorado, back through Arizona, and hit up 10 national parks and monuments in 13 days. It was
that's a lot of driving.
That's pretty cool.
I'm pretty sure.
JJ, 3,360 miles. Yes, correct.
Yeah.
So you essentially drove the equivalent of across the country.
Yeah, well, it turns out when you go to Denver and then you drive basically top to bottom in Colorado and then back, you've done half the country.
You must have done some crisscrossing there, though, because I've driven to like Park City, Utah, which is not as far as Denver. Denver is still a good distance from there. and back, and it was not 3,000 miles. So you did some extra driving somewhere in there.
Yeah, there was a lot of up and down, back and forth. Like Colorado is a big state, and we drove to the top of it and to the bottom of it, and then back through Utah to hit another national park. So
Yeah.
it wasn't as direct as it could be, for sure.
That's cool,
Yeah.
though.
Yeah. I give high marks to them all. The national park system is a treasure and should not be messed with.
Says everyone on this podcast.
It's cool to be able to go to a national park that's across a freeway from another national park and be like, why is this one so different from the other? I'm talking about Arches and Canyonlands. Arches is like pretty famous for the arches.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of sandstone and red rocks and all that sort of stuff that you'd expect to see in the desert and like sandstone areas that aren't canyons. And then you go across the street 40 minutes, but literally across the freeway. You drive about 40 minutes and you're at basically what would be the start of the Grand Canyon. Kind of intense.
I feel like that was the feeling I got when I went to Sequoia and Kings Canyon. And those are two separate parks, but I feel that spiritually they're the same one. I didn't notice
accurate.
a difference when I went to them, and I couldn't tell you when I left one or entered the other.
Sure.
But also I was a teenager and less prone to paying attention to these sorts of things.
Well, we went to Zion and then we went to Bryce back to back, and I expected them to be identical because they were only like 2 hours apart. And Zion is this canyon that is a river running through it and has beautiful rocks everywhere and huge towering canyon walls.
Mm-hmm.
And then Bryce is like famous for these things called hoodoos, which are basically rain pillars of sandstone that have excavated themselves with their decay into these towering giant pillars. Some are called like Victoria and all these other things that have like these crazy shapes. It's wacky, dude. This is just the desert, you know? Then you get up to like Rocky Mountain National Park and you're looking at the Continental Divide from the side of a lake. I don't know how much better it gets than that.
Yeah, I think the desert, quote unquote, gets a bad rap.
Yeah, dude, people don't recognize how rad the desert is. You don't even have to go that far from where we live. You can just drive to Palm Springs, and there is rad stuff to see in the desert out there.
Well, and every desert's really, really different because they're usually surrounded by these huge mountain ranges. So, like, Death Valley is a desert, and Arches National Park are in the desert, and they couldn't be more dissimilar. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty fascinating. I got to walk on a frozen lake with my kids. That was pretty dang cool.
That's cool.
It's very cool.
You couldn't see the ice, but we had to put on the crampons so we didn't slip and all that sort of stuff. Pretty fun. Ate fresh icicles off the side of a hill.
Yeah, that's
pretty
a little more
fantastic.
Sketch than I think I'd be feeling cool with, but you do you.
Yeah, they were clear. We let them try them a little bit, but then yeah, it's kind of a little sketchy. You could get sick, so we didn't invest in that too heavily.
All right, that's good.
Probably
good.
wise.
Yeah, you know, I mean, it's part of life is about experience, right? And then the other part is about safety, and it's like, well,
You got to strike a balance between.
I don't know
the
where
two.
the line is. You got to pick for yourself.
What do we learn
Yeah.
about the experience of stomach flu?
Don't. I believe
How do we
that the
experience
learning
Giardia
is
together?
don't.
Yeah, that's not the lesson we're trying to teach
Yeah.
here.
Well, they were like, can we eat the whole thing? And I was like, well, I think my risk tolerance has ended at you licking it once. So we can say we've done it. We got the picture, and now let's put that back on the ground. Thank you very much.
Return the water to nature.
Yeah. Well, you know, we have to have that discussion. They see, this is a little bit unfortunate, and I'm not trying to go on a tirade, an old man tirade. But part of the national park they have these junior ranger programs, and they tell you at every single one, like, leave nature to nature. Don't take stuff. And you see people scraping on the walls with rocks to write their names, and you see people littering everywhere, and you see people picking up rocks and putting them in their pockets, and my kids are just standing there like, well, why can't we do any of this fun stuff? And it's like, well, we're going to follow the moral compass here.
Dude, all those assholes. Like, they should all be shamed for doing those things, and their parents should be castigated and cast out of society. They're horrible people, ruining nature for everyone forever. So I will rant if you won't, because it's stupid that people are allowed to get away with that.
Well, they had a camera up at one of the places because it's funny, if you put your name up before like 1900, it's historic, you know? So there's like this rock where all the pioneers wrote their name. Mm-hmm. Right. And then they got a camera up that's like, don't add your name. You know? Like, pretty funny to me.
Yeah, they're all grandfathered in.
So that was my 2 weeks. And then, of course, at the end of it, we all got colds because traveling 13 days and staying at a different hotel almost every night is a little bit wear and tear on the body. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying my best not to cough into this microphone, but c'est la vie, gentlemen. JJ, you've been busy too, though.
Yeah, man. The saga of our house renovations have finally concluded, for this point. So we had our electrical panel upgraded completely now after digging a giant trench through our front yard, which sucked. Completed that.
You have a new fence too?
And we do have a new fence on 2 sides, yeah.
Hey.
So that's all finally done. Now it's a matter of putting the front yard back in order. And, hopefully getting back to some level of normalcy. So that's been an adventure. Yeah. And are you enjoying your new ability to have an electric car charger that you don't need? No, we're not enjoying it. But it's not the only electrical upgrades you were getting, right? Yeah, there was other things that wanted to be fixed. We replaced the light fixtures in basically every room and all the cans, and changed the hallway lighting to be cans instead of fixtures, and we did a bunch of stuff. There's Ethernet in all the guest rooms and stuff now, so it was an upgrade. So yeah, it's pretty good, man. I think we're happy overall, like you said, but it was just a long process and very disruptive, digging a giant trench through the front yard. Oh, which, by the way, it rained while that was there, so it filled up with a bunch of water, which was a really great time. Oh, of course it did, right? It's too bad it didn't happen before they dug the hole, because it would have been easier to dig the hole when it was wet. It did. But then it kept raining, so then it just filled back up again. Yeah, it's done though, so thank goodness. Yeah, no horrible experiences in terms of the digging. They were very careful, so that part was good. But still a big hassle, and I'm happy to be done with. But now, in theory, if we wanted to get like solar panels or something, it would be easier to do because the panel's already upgraded and meets all the criterias and stuff, so you could just like slap that thing on there without having to redo the whole system. You mentioned your new lights, and my recent experience, I feel like we've been lied to about LED light bulbs, you guys. I'm becoming somewhat of a skeptic that they're lasting as long as they're supposed to last. We've only lived in this house probably 10 years. I didn't have LED light bulbs when we moved in. I've since upgraded to most of the bulbs being LEDs. And I feel like I'm replacing, I don't know, a good 20% of them pretty often. And I'm not buying cheap ones. I don't know what's going on. But the controllers start failing. They start flickering all the time. I try to change the switches to see if that's the problem. That's not usually the problem. And the bulbs die. I got 2 dead ones
right now.
I mean, there's also the fact that they're like still manufactured cheaply. It doesn't matter how much you paid for them. They're not quality like products built for hundreds of years.
Fair enough.
They could be, but they aren't.
It's just they come with that warranty, and they say they're supposed to last X amount of hours or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it really feels like it's not even close to accurate.
I mean, have you tried to make a warranty claim on them?
Yeah, good luck keeping all the receipts for all these things.
How are they going to prove that you don't have them, though? But I agree with you. I mean, how are you going to do that?
Touche, salesman.
I'm just curious. So I was like, if you're saying they're failing all the time, like maybe you should send them in and be like, what the hell, bro?
I am 20 minutes into my recording. I'm going to stop really quick and try and restart because I am now a good 15 to 20 seconds behind you guys.
Oh, while we're waiting for Andy, I meant to message you. Did you know that it was things you learned from the Times crossword puzzle, that it was petite larceny, P-E-T-I-T?
Oh, instead of petty larceny?
Yeah.
I mean, I did that puzzle, and I remember that clue, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then I was like, well, maybe it's just another way of saying it. I feel like they do a lot of times where it's like, oh, this is a similar word to how the thing is.
Yeah, that one I actually Googled, and that is how it is. It's the French, and it's just kind of a mashup of that with petty thievery.
Interesting. I mean, I guess it's easy to see how, like, when you're watching a Western or whatever, and they're saying petite larceny, it sounds like petty.
Yeah, it's so close.
They got a twang or a drawl or something, and it just sounds like that,
Right. Or if anyone with a French accent says it, it's that last T is going to be basically so soft that it sounds like a Y.
Yeah. Yeah, fully believable. It's been some weird stuff in the crossword the last couple of weeks. It's just like, I don't know, they decided eggnog is in season even though it's the middle of spring, which is weird.
Yeah, I've noticed that weeks go in cycles sometimes. Like you'll see the same clue in 2 or 3 puzzles in the same week.
They're interested in Mensa, which is a thing no one has thought about since the 90s. And it's like, what is all this, man?
Oh, Mensa's making a comeback. A bunch of people are putting their kids in Mensa.
Okay, having a moment.
I don't know if it's like a college applications thing, and they're like, yes, Mensa. And I don't know if they've lowered their standards or whatever. I thought it was like basically an IQ test before.
Yeah, I think that was the
kind
case.
of.
Yeah. Okay, well, this appears to have been fixed by a restart. I have no idea what was going on. Of course, technical issues, right? Couldn't get through one episode without them.
The gremlins are back too.
Yeah, everybody's back. All right, well, I'm done ranting about light bulbs. I'm just tired of it. Yeah, I guess we could try and do some warranty claims. I don't know, man. Just bring back the old ones, I guess, if we're just going to keep throwing out light bulbs. It doesn't matter if I can get them warrantied.
Well, I will say the nice thing about the LED ones is that they have a lot more kinds of interesting sorts of fixtures you can get for them than you ever could with incandescent.
100%, and they also use way less energy, which is something we probably need to be doing.
Which, like, at the end of the day, using the less energy is the big savings. So,
right.
Yeah, I guess it's a net positive, even if they are still all going in the landfill.
Maybe, yeah,
Yeah, I do try to recycle
thing in a
them.
landfill instead of a bigger thing, I guess. ?
I don't know. I try to recycle them. E-waste or whatever.
Yep.
Michael, you've been busy.
Oh yes. It has been kind of a whirlwind last month for us here. Our little posse of 3 is now a slightly larger posse of 4. So the wife and I are playing some man-to-man defense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once the older one gets big enough, you can incorporate them into the zone.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's already started to happen a little bit. There are little things that he likes to try and be helpful with. So.
Yeah, go get that thing.
Exactly.
Exactly. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
I hope the sleep comes soon.
the sleep has actually been better this time around than it was with our first. So
That's
Knocking
I'm
on
jealous
wood.
of that news. I'm jealous of that news. Good job.
hopefully, cross your fingers that that lasts and we don't regress.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll just keep them. We'll keep them all crossed for everybody.
Thank you.
Well, speaking of babies, no, that's a bad transition. This is never mind.
Huh?
JJ, earlier today, did you like when I sent you my new baby of a deck in that Architect format? Or was it harder to read than looking at MTGA?
When you sent it to me in a way that I could actually look at it, it was okay. Looking at it on my phone, it's not really the ideal place. You kind of want more screen real estate to look at something like that, I feel.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying, as the MTGA bug has bit me harder, I'm trying to find different ways to deck build that are not in that app that make it very difficult.
Yeah, no one blames you for not building in the app. The app is bad for that actively, so I think that's fine.
I think it's not as bad once you know the ins and outs of like when to have the crafting button on and all that sort of craziness, but it's difficult.
You got to just be really good with the search function on that thing and like understand all the wild cards and all the like weird advanced search stuff that you can do. So it's a hassle, to be frank, and there are way better interfaces on the web, so I don't blame people for doing it that way.
Well, it's been a few weeks since we've been actually live. I know everyone's probably tired of Magic the Gathering Arena since it was the last 2 episodes of this show. But Dragonstorm came out, and I want to get your quick thoughts on Dragonstorm, and if you're enjoying the new laddering, other than I don't know that it's changed the game much for me, except for seeing Elspeth in almost every black-white deck.
Yeah, I don't think a ton of the cards have made a huge splash in Standard just yet. I think I'm really disappointed they didn't use the time here at the release of the new set to ban Monstrous Rage specifically.
Monstrous Rage?
And maybe Up the Beanstalk.
Up the Beanstalk? I don't know either of those cards. I must not play in a high enough bracket.
Yeah, that Monstrous Rage is like the key red pump spell, and has been for a year and a half or 2 years now. It's just too powerful. Like that's straight up, it's too good. It
in
gives
Standard.
It gives a permanent +1/+1 enchantment token to the creature, like as an aura, and then also gives them another +1/+0 and trample or something like that. I think it works out to like +3/+2 total, which is not like that outrageous. But giving the trample and then also having part of the +1/+1 stick around, and also the fact that all the like little red creatures are really powerful right now it's just too strong. Like it's the only card that keeps the red deck around, and that red deck is super oppressive for any other kind of creature-based strategies because you have to win faster than the stupid red mouse deck, which is unbeatable if you aren't ready for it with tons of removal.
Oh yeah, I've heard about this red mouse thing online, so I guess that's part of that deck. Okay.
Yeah. Up the Beanstalk is the other like linchpin card in the format. It's an uncommon. It's a 2-mana enchantment. You play it, you draw a card, and then anytime you play does it have to be an enchantment?
I don't know. I was trying to click on it, but it's not loading.
I think it does have to be an enchantment of mana cost like 5 or greater. You can also draw a card.
Nope. Any spell.
Any spell. Okay, that's even more ridiculous.
Worse.
And you're like, whoa, but that's like 5 or greater. That's so much mana. Au contraire, Domain exists, and you can play 5 and 6 mana spells for 1 mana because they get discounted. And then this thing just like staples together tons of really good synergies for control decks that are just like frankly too powerful.
And lots of card draw for just 2 mana. That's crazy.
Yeah. And like 2 mana, play an enchantment, draw a card is already like kind of not a great rate, but it's an okay rate. Then draw like 4 more cards over the course of the game is bonkers. For, by the way, also playing good spells, right? It's not like you're playing bad ones. You're only playing good ones, right? So
it turns out just drawing cards in Magic is bonkers.
Correct. And if you ban these cards, it's not like you're causing people to go bankrupt because they spent their life savings buying these things. Monstrous Rage is a common. Up the Beanstalk is an uncommon.
Yeah.
No one is going to lose their hat. Like, it would change standard up a bunch. Leave them legal in the Eternal formats where they're not a problem. Like, they're not a problem in Pioneer or Modern or any of those other formats. Ban them in standard. They would rotate next year anyway. Like, please just make the format different. But no, we get to see Mouse Deck wins for another year and Up the Beanstalk enabled combos for however long. That's still legal, which is a bummer.
That's too bad. Well,
I do like the new cards. I think some of the new Dragonstorm cards are super cool. I played a game of Draft and really liked it. So I think it's a cool
Oh, they already
format.
have it in. They already have Dragonstorm in Draft, or is that Premier Draft, not Quick
Yeah,
Draft?
I did Premier Draft, yeah.
You're much more confident than me at drafting.
Well, I've done it more, and again, the higher reward for the higher entry cost is worth it. But I had the pass, I had a token, so
Yeah, they sold a token recently for like a discount. I bought it.
yeah. I usually almost all the things they sell for discounts are worth it in terms of paying the gold for them. So
Yeah. Well, that's Magic, and that's enough of that because Michael has been champing at the bit to get back on this podcast to talk about if things will change in the next year with Nintendo.
Oh man, speaking of fledgling things getting off the ground.
Yeah, it's all about the fledgling flight this week.
Yeah, so Nintendo, while we were on break, had their long-awaited official announcement of the Switch 2. I think there were some surprising moments in that direct. I think ones that weren't on anybody's radar. But I guess first we got the specs of the system. It sounds like there's going to be some nice graphical enhancements. You'll get some really nice FPS, some nice quality output, on top of longer battery life, bigger screen.
60 FPS.
Yeah, say up to 120 in some cases.
Let's just say 60. Let's not
Yeah,
get crazy.
let's say you get a solid 60, which is for Nintendo, that's a big step forward.
Yeah. Yeah, let's not go crazy. They could have just said solid 60 and not gotten people's hopes up about 120, which we all know is going to be a little bit of a struggle.
It's handheld, right? I think that's the thing is like you run this in handheld and you bump the quality all the way down. You could do 120 in games that are built for it. It's probably doable.
That's possible.
You're looking at a tiny 1080p screen that's not running 1080.
Yeah. We may be waiting a few weeks or months longer to get one of these things if you want to get one right off the bat, because I think I'm going to pass for a little bit,
Yeah, let that first wave kind of go by.
Exactly.
I don't know. So the launch date of the beginning of June is fixed, but with the uncertainty in the global markets, they put a pause, an open-ended pause on taking the pre-orders that were supposed to open up last week.
But they're still going to sell them?
I don't know about uncertainty in the global markets, man. It's uncertainty in the U.S. market in specific. Let's not beat around the bush about what's happening here.
Yes. You
they
are
only
correct.
shut down the U.S. market, right? And the Canadian market?
And the Canadian market.
And
but
Canada,
the Canadian,
apparently.
I've seen some news just today of some speculative dates of when those pre-orders are going to go live. I think Canada has an actual date now, and some tentative dates for the U.S. of the end of this month.
I mean, they can't wait forever. They have said the product is coming out. Like, Switch 2 is releasing on the day they said. Like, they said that's still happening. They said, so, they have to start letting people pay for them at some point. I don't know. Did you guys register your interest? Did you try and sign up for Nintendo pre-sale or whatever that thing is?
I was considering it because I meet the requirements. I have an account and I have enough playtime.
I mean, the playtime is not hard, right? It's like 50 hours over the last 2 years.
It's having had an account for the last 12 months.
But it's the active Nintendo Switch or the active online subscription for 12 months. That's the thing.
Right. And then 50 cumulative hours of playtime. I don't recall if it had to be in the last 2 years or if it's just total.
Yeah. The playtime requirement is the easiest one of those to meet for sure.
Yeah.
But
if you've had a Switch for any amount of time.
The online requirement is the tough one, like having been subscribed to that thing for so long. But, if you got it, like, I guess go for it. We'll see. But I think, the big question is, like, what is the price going to come out in the U.S.? Are they going to hold at the $450 mark that they announced, or is it going to be up? Question marks?
How much and how long can they afford to lose money? I don't know.
I'm fairly confident the answer is they can't afford to lose money, and they're not going to say, it's $450 now, but then in 2 months it's going to skyrocket to $575 or whatever. They'll just raise the price now. Like, they'll just take the extra money ahead of time. So
I'm surprised it didn't get included in the electronics carve out that immediately happened for Apple.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they didn't bribe the president hard enough or whatever you have to do around here. But yeah, it's a big question mark, man. It's a big question mark, and I
really hope
no one knows.
Yeah, it's gonna damage a company that didn't do anything wrong. I guess. You don't know what the future holds.
Can argue that all of the U.S. trade policy is going to damage companies that didn't do anything wrong. So I don't think there's anything unique about that situation. It just happens to intersect with the gaming sphere this time. Very, I don't know what else to say. Like, it's so confusing, like, how all this is. And let's even not talk about the price and the pre-order stuff. What do you guys think about some of the features of this thing?
Oh, yeah. That's a good question. Go for it, Michael.
Yeah, I think, so one of the things that I thought was a good choice, and then I think they tripped over their own feet at the end. So they put together a game that is very reminiscent of, what was it called? Aperture Desk Job. Which, Andy, if you remember, Aperture Desk Job was the get to know your Steam Deck game. And it was a free download, and you played through it as a game, but it taught you all the features.
I literally thought of that and then laughed out loud when I heard the second part of this news. Literally out loud.
Which is that, JJ, it's not free. Yeah. You have to buy this game that teaches you how to use all the new features on your Switch too.
Yeah, I haven't heard the price. I heard that this was a paid thing, and I thought this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Who would pay for this? This is the stupidest possible thing I can imagine.
I'll tell you this, it doesn't matter what the price is. It's just the fact that they are charging people for it.
Yeah. Why would you
even if it's $5, why would you pay it?
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense.
It's fine because everyone will just borrow they'll borrow the digital card for it from a friend, and everyone will wind up playing it for free anyway.
The digital card thing is cool. I'm into it. I have multiple Switches, so it matters for me.
Well, I think the digital card thing for cough gamers of a certain age kind of taps into the nostalgia of, like, having friends who had games that you didn't growing up, right? And passing cartridges back and forth.
I remember for 5 hot minutes I thought about us creating a little Switch library between the three of us, and it was like we live too far apart for that to be like a thing that's easy to do.
And this still is the case for this, to be clear. But Andy, you have multiple Switches, so you must be in on the, like, master account, sub account, like, thing, right?
Currently? Or the idea of the one that they're doing?
Yeah. No, I'm talking about this one.
Yeah.
The current one. How is the digital game sharing thing better than the master or whatever the parent account, child account thing, which allows you to both play the game at the same time?
It's not at the same time though. They can like be installed at the same time, but they can't be run at the same time in certain instances. It's really strange and confusing.
That part I agree with. But, you know, if one of the switches is offline, the parent switch is offline, it can play the game, right?
Right. Yes.
And the other person that's online can also be playing the game.
But you have to be around and be like offlining and onlining switches and stuff like that. And it's just like, this is less confusing.
So it's less confusing, but also less features now because you can't both play at the same time.
I guess maybe.
Because you're giving up the digital copy from one to give it to the other one. Like trading CDs back in the day or whatever, right? So I'm just like, I immediately noticed that it's like, oh, it's like giveth with one hand, taketh away with the other hand. Like it is not, it is not like one for one functionality. Like, hey, this is just like a cleaner, easier interface. It certainly is easier and to understand and hopefully implement. Knock on wood. Although Nintendo, so ooh,
Shrug.
yeah. But I don't, you know, I think they're not getting rid of the other one either. Maybe that's the other thing I haven't been able to see a lot of like understanding about. I don't know. Is this now like on top of that other system, which then is like really weird? I don't know, man.
Yeah, it could be on top of. That's true. They could leave both in place because it would seem weird to punish people who have switches in the same house.
Right, because then all this stuff goes across both switches and Switch 2s, right? Because that's also a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so then, like, well, does the system stay this way on the Switch 1 and the Switch 2 uses this other system? And so then how does that work? And I don't know. And these questions are complicated, and Nintendo doesn't answer any complicated questions ever. So...
No, why would they?
Yeah. That's a bummer. I don't know, bummer. It's confusing, which sucks. I would like to have answers on that kind of stuff. But like, what about like game cards versus game key cards? That's also a thing I've seen people having opinions about on the internet.
Yeah, that one seemed weird to me. Like you have a card that's got the game on it versus a card that is basically a digital download code.
It seems like, oh, collectors still want a box, give them a box, and that's the end of their thought process there.
But that game key card then is still needs the online infrastructure to be useful. The box is useless because you don't have the game on the card. So when Nintendo shuts their stuff down, it's useless.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you. It seems like a unthought through thing.
Yeah. I'm like, who wants this? That's the thing
But I feel like Michael had a different take, though.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think the only thing that keeps it from being a total write-off to me is the fact that it doesn't lock the digital download to a single Switch 2 or a single user account. So you can still share the digital download card the way you would share the actual just physical game card.
Some of this is mitigated by the fact that even full game cards, like let's say like Breath of the Wild for the Switch 1, like 85% of that game is on the card, but all the other stuff that you could get from the store, like the DLC and all that, is not on the card. So you still got to download that stuff onto an SD before the store shuts down.
Right. Like, if they offline the store, a bunch of stuff is screwed. Like, just period.
Yeah.
Even quote unquote full games on full cards.
Oh, totally. Right. Like games that need huge patches to be even good. Right. Like,
yeah,
that kind of stuff. But I just like, it seems like a problem in search of a solution. Like, I don't see what the benefit is. It's like, oh, well, like we can manufacture these key cards hella cheap. Right. So like, the people can make more money selling boxed games. I guess. Is it even though? I don't. Yeah.
It's hard to see it.
Yeah. I get that, like, from, as opposed to buying a pure digital game on your Switch, right? The ability to, like, say, oh, I'm done with this game, I'm going to trade it to Michael or whatever, is a benefit, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's a small one in comparison with, like, oh, well, now I won't be able to use this when Nintendo shuts all their stuff down like they inevitably will do.
Well, they're keeping store active from Switch 1 to Switch 2 here. I'm not saying it's not inevitable, but I am saying it looks more like a DS life cycle where it lasted from the DS1 all the way through the 3DS.
Yeah, I mean, that 3DS store is gone now, though, right? So
I'm not saying, I'm agreeing with you, but I'm thinking it could be quite long term.
if we get till the end of the Switch 2 for the Switch 1's store, is that okay even? Like, you know?
Oh, the Switch 1 store and the Switch 2 store are going to be connected for sure. I don't think
You're probably right about that.
It'll be confusing because there'll be different titles in there that they're going to have to be like, this won't work well, or this will work, or this will work better. This is the Switch 2 version of Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, I mean, I think the PSN has that same exact problem and doesn't handle it well, so I don't expect better from Nintendo.
Oh, no.
So I don't know. It's just like a bunch of series of confusing choices with that thing. And
I think overall I wasn't super disappointed in though. But what were you going to go with? And then what?
Oh, it was like, and then, of course they lead you with the Mario Kart, which everyone wants.
Oh yeah, man, it's time.
Right,
Mario Kart isn't new since the Wii U.
Right. Yeah, the Wii U Mario Kart is the current Mario Kart still.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've just been adding on and adding on.
So, like, great, that looks awesome. But also, like, I don't need to go get that now. People can be playing that till the heat death of the sun. Like,
I mean, people are still actively playing the current Mario Kart, right?
Mm-hmm.
After all this time, so
yeah, people are probably still playing Mario Kart Double Dash. Like, I'm like, I don't need to go out there and play and buy this for that sweet Mario Kart, which it does look good.
Yeah.
So then, like, what's the thing that makes me want to buy this thing? Is it the Donkey Kong thing, which isn't out at release?
I think that surprised a lot of people. Open world 3D Donkey Kong.
Donkey Kongacy, Donkey Kong Odyssey,
Bonanza.
No, I know what it is called, but I'm saying it's the Mario Odyssey of Donkey Kong.
Yeah, it's strange.
So I don't know. I think that's I'm tepid. I'm sure I'll end up getting one eventually if the price isn't like $8,000.
I'll get one eventually. I'm not in any doubt about that.
But I'm not rushing. I don't need it.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same, honestly. Like I'm good waiting for the the second upgrade, the second printing or whatever, like once the prices are sorted out in the downward trajectory, hopefully.
Yeah, and like I'm not above it. If the prices are crazy in the U.S., I'll smuggle one from the EU or whatever. Like, look, man, I'll fight those tariffs.
Oh man, that region lock from Japan, though, huh?
Yeah, I think that surprised a lot of people too.
Yeah, very interesting. I wonder, is there some kind of like Japanese subsidy or something happening there that's like local politics?
I think they're just trying to protect. I think they're just trying to protect themselves from getting scalper flights where it's just people going over there and buying hundreds of Switches and bringing them back.
Yeah, but like it's priced so much cheaper in yen, like so much cheaper.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah, you wonder where it comes from. That's for sure.
I don't blame them for doing it. Like if the market is that weak and they really need to support the local, development and such, like go for it. But weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you'll be able to play Civ 7 on there with the new mouse feature, JJ.
Will you though?
I don't know how I'm ever going to use that mouse feature.
Dude, we're going to talk about this mouse feature now. You tried to bait me into changing topics, but I'm not going to, because think about that. Think about that mouse thing, okay? They showed it with the Metroid. Okay, I get it. First person game, maybe aiming.
Game made for it.
Yeah. Seems sensible. Civ, a game where you use a mouse to click on stuff. Okay, I get it. What? I'm sitting on my couch. I'm playing my Switch 2. The heck am I putting this thing? How am I going to do this? Am I having like a tray table in front of me here? What?
That sounds like it.
So I saw an article right in the wake of the announcement, the hardware announcement, that they've tested it and said that the mouse will work on like just your pants.
Okay, I'm wearing shorts. I don't think running it over my legs is a good call.
Sure, fair.
Running it on like my couch is awkward. Like, think about you're sitting on a couch. If you have to put your arms down to the material of the couch,
it's too far down.
It's too far. It's going to be uncomfortable, right? I want it in my lap, ideally. So I don't know, man. I don't know. That's the big question mark for me. How is that thing going to feel and work? Like, yeah, okay, you say you can use it on your pants, but that I've used mice. I know how this works. Not very well.
Not your first rodeo.
Yeah, I'm very skeptical of that whole thing, man. Optional, I'm sure. So,
yeah, optional with a huge grain of salt there. I would not imagine it'll be very similar to the the PlayStation version, where it's like PlayStation keeps bringing out Astrobot, which works wonders with all the cool features of their controller, and then beyond that, nobody focuses on that stuff because you got to put everything on every system.
Yeah. I don't know. And maybe it'll be fine and work great and whatever, but I don't know. Skeptical.
Yeah. All right, Civ 7.
Yeah, hey, that's a game. I haven't been playing it that much, which is probably says a lot.
Uh-oh.
It's really different.
Really?
Yeah. It's probably one of the biggest changes to the formula since 5. Right?
Okay. We liked the changes made in 5, though.
Well, you liked the changes when going from 4 to 5?
I thought, well, it took me a while to get used to it, that's for sure. But I did eventually end up liking 5 more than 4. Eventually.
And I am with you there. I didn't play as much 4, really. I got my feet, I played a ton of 5 and then 6 and now 7.
Yeah.
And I don't know, man. The changes are so big, and the game feels really different. It still has that, okay, I can just do, one more turn. I really am close to accomplishing this one goal, doing this one thing, taking this one city. That part still works for me.
Mm-hmm.
But there are so many different systems. The ways that you win are really different now, it feels. They've split the game into these 3 ages, which really give you, artificial endpoints in the middle of what you would think of as the Civ game, quote unquote.
Okay.
You can just win and be done at one of the age points, right? You could just declare I'm going to play a game of the ancient age and then be done. And the game is obviously way shorter.
Did they add that in 6? I think they added that in 6, right? Where you could just play maybe there's only in scenarios.
Yeah, maybe it's a scenario thing. It's probably possible in custom games. You can do kind of anything in those. But yeah, I never played that way, right? I always started from the beginning, went all the way through to the space thing or whatever at the end. So that felt very disjointing. And the transitions between those ages is really jarring because it changes so much about your civilization when you change who the civilization is, and a bunch of things, you lose a bunch of units, you go back in terms of your towns, your cities, a lot of them go back to towns and you have to re-upgrade them again. It's a weird process, man. It's very jarring. All the units make technological leaps, they're stronger and all that stuff. And then, you're going to have new bonuses because now you're playing as the Inca instead of the Mayans or whatever. It's probably a bad... I don't think the Mayans would go into the Inca. I don't think that works time-wise. But anyway, it's I play as the ancient Romans, and then you become the Inca, and then you become modern-day Mexico at the end, right? And it's that's a weird feeling, right? And they all have different bonuses and stuff. So.
We talked about that before the game came out, where it was why are they doing this? Why can't I play one civilization from beginning to end? And they had that thing where they're well, civilizations don't last forever, they get replaced. And it's yeah, but
why?
But why? Yeah.
And so the thing you do keep is you keep your leader the whole way, right? I played Augustus of Rome, And then Augustus was in charge of the Inca, and then Augustus was in charge of Mexico. So there was continuity there, but I feel like the things Augustus lent to the thing were very minor in comparison to what the civilizations were doing.
I have also felt like this was backwards since before they announced it. I have felt like this is backwards, right? Because it's like, but Augustus died after, like 50 years. So if you want to change things at ages, why not change the leaders, not the...
Yeah, right? Like, the civ stays, but the leader changes. I can kind of see that. I can see it this way, where it's like, this is your avatar. Like, this is the person you're building up. And the weird thing, Andrew, you do kind of level him up. Like, the leaders have, like, skill trees and stuff. Yeah, that you level up throughout the game. It's very strange.
That's weird.
It's very weird. And it's not bad necessarily. Like, I don't think I hate it. It's just very different. And I don't know what axes are, like, worth exploring and which ones aren't. I'm sure I could go learn, like, read a Reddit post or whatever and watch a YouTube video and learn how to, like, break the game on deity or whatever. But I feel like my knowledge from previous Civ isn't transferring over easily, so I'm, like, kind of confused and lost a lot of the time.
Is it going to draw you back to old Civ, or are we sticking with new Civ?
No, I'm not going back and reinstalling old Civ. I'm just playing different games instead most of the time.
Okay. We'll have to hear about those different games next week, and I think there'll be a lot to talk about with some TV, some games, some magic, some all sorts of stuff. So we're back. We're all back.
Where are we back at, Michael?
You can get at us at podcast@weweregamers.com. We'd love to hear from you. Now that we're back, let us know what you've been up to in our absence.
We've been with them the whole time.